Hi everyone, welcome to Life Prepared. This is my daughter. She's going to show you how to make bath bombs today.
So I deal with a lot of chronic pain issues, and I found that essential oil bath bombs can really help mitigate that. The problem is they are incredibly expensive, so I learned how to make my own. Okay, so today we are making bath bombs. We all know how expensive they are at the stores. I've seen them anywhere from $5 a piece to $15 a piece. By doing it like this, we can make them for somewhere around $1 or two each for at-home use. So you want to start out with baking soda, Epsom salts, and citric acid. Those are going to be your three solids. So it's going to be 2 parts baking soda to 1 part citric acid to 1 part Epsom salts. I like to run my baking soda through the sifter just so you don't get any big pieces or anything when you're trying to mix it later. So we've got our 2 parts baking soda, add in my 1 part citric acid. And you want to crush it up, make sure there's no lumps or anything in here. Get it nice and fine. The finer you make it, the smoother the bath bombs will be as a result. Okay, they're nice and smooth. And then I'm going to add the Epsom salts. Do almost the same, just make sure there's no big chunks. Okay, once you have everything nice and stirred thoroughly, it will help distribute the oils throughout the blend so it'll be nice and even. And it should have a scent that you like. Should be a little bit stronger than you think it should be, because by the time we add in the oils and by the time it sits in the open air to dry, and by the time you actually use it, it will have dissipated quite a bit. All right, next is to add our coconut oil. Usually, depending on how many you plan on making, the size of the batch, it's anywhere between 1 and 2 tablespoons. I prefer to use it from a softened state. Seems to work a little bit easier for me. Again, anything liquid you put in does have the possibility of interacting with the citric acid and making it start to bubble and ruining your bath bombs. So we add just a little bit of our coconut oil and just start working it in. Okay. Make sure you mix it really well, and when it's fully mixed, make sure you pull out any large pieces, like that's a really big piece of salt. I don't want to keep that in there. Otherwise, once it's thoroughly mixed, you have your base all set. Next comes into adding essential oils. I use my own custom blend. I do use Plant Therapy. I'm not sponsored by them in any way. It's just the brand I prefer. They are, this here, I use different ones. It's not this particular blend, but I do use Plant Therapy. Their oils are 100%, they're tested, and I know they are 100% oils. There's no additives, no anything, and they do have kid-safe blends if you're looking to make bath bombs for your kids. So basically, when I add the oils, I add just enough till I get a good scent. It really depends on how strong you like your scents on how much you add. So make sure you add it and make sure you stir it right away. Because it is a liquid, it can interact with the citric acid and baking soda and start bubbling. So make sure you start stirring really quickly when you add it into the mix. Stir thoroughly. Again, get all the little lumps and chunks out that we just made. So stir until it is nice and smooth again. And you can kind of tell when you're starting to get close to it. The mixture will get a lot thicker. It'll get a lot heavier, like actually heavier feel to it. And you'll know you'll be getting a lot closer to where it should be. When it is ready, you should be able to take a handful, squeeze it, and it should hold together. So it's not quite enough oil in this one. You don't want it to break apart after you squeeze it. So for a batch of this size, I've probably used a little bit more than that, probably closer to 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. Okay, and it holds together, doesn't break apart when I gently roll it in my hand, and that's exactly the consistency we are looking for. It does take a little bit of practice till you figure out exactly how to get it, but don't worry about it. The one thing about bath bombs that's great is if you don't have them quite wet enough and they break apart when you try to make them, you can put them back in, add a little bit more, and start from the beginning and redo them. Or just use them as they're broken apart. They'll work just as well. All right, you can use as many colors as you want. This also helps hold them together. The soap colorant is also a form of liquid, so it will help hold everything together nice and tight. And it makes what kind of makes them fun. I'm choosing to do 2 colors. So I'm going to separate out approximately half of the mixture. That's pretty close enough. All right. And I did buy a kit when I first started doing these. It came with, I think, 12 colors, 3 large bath bomb molds, and 1 medium and 1 small. You can use other materials like muffin tins or anything like that. I have found, especially as a beginner, that it is much easier to use the kit and the molds. Again, you can find them, a set of molds here, the different sizes, and it came with different colorants as well. Again, you can find the kits on Amazon for probably under 15 bucks. We'll see if I can find the link for the one, and we can add it to this as well for the one I purchased. Again, not affiliated with them, it just happens to be the kit I bought. All right, the next thing we're going to do is add our colorant. The amount of color you use is going to determine the strength of color in your bath bombs. So obviously the more color you use, the darker the color is going to be. I like mine to be pretty dark. I use a lot of colorant. You don't have to use anywhere near as much as mine. It is soap colorant, so it is non-staining. Just wash your hands when you're done. Or if you're picky, you can obviously wear gloves through the entire process. And then just stir until the color is well dispersed. And just put aside momentarily. It will darken up as it sits too. And then you do this one the exact same, just with whatever other color you wanted. I chose pink and purple because I think it makes a good combination in the bath. Okay, I finished mixing them up, rinsed my hands off so I didn't have big chunks of color still stuck to them and so it doesn't stain my hands. All right, next thing we do is we put them together in our molds. Again, I'm making some of the big ones today. These are a number 3. So we're gonna start, just take whatever color, combination of colors you like. I usually do a little bit of both. Don't pack it too tight. But put them on in, give it a little peck. Once it comes up and you leave a little hump, leave it a little bit loose. So that way it has something to pack into. Put the 2 sides together. Press, do not twist. I'll just kind of clean the excess off here. Okay. Give it a little tap. Make sure, do it to both sides. Make sure both sides come off easily. And then just make sure both sides come off easily. You can say just whatever color you want. Leave it in half and put it somewhere. I use a box, another container, something that you can just stick it in so they don't tip over, or if they do, at least anything's contained, and just let it sit. They do take approximately 24 hours to dry. So we do let them sit overnight. I do come back about an hour or 2 after making the initial bath bomb to flip them over. So I will just take the other half of the piece, same thing, flip it over. You might have to give it a couple of taps if it's still a little wet. Pull the piece off and then put it back aside to dry. All right, and that is it. I just keep doing them until I am all set and used up my mixtures. You may have a little tiny bit left over when you're done. Save it, throw it into a little Ziploc baggie. I throw them all together and I have just an added for a bath at some other point. Just turns into just a little mixture of whatever I've made.
All right, while she's cleaning up, I thought I'd show you the finished product. She started with, if you want a recipe, 1 1/3 cups of the baking soda and 2/3 cup each of the citric acid and Epsom salts, and between 2 and 3 tablespoons of the coconut oil. And she made the 4 large and the 1 small.
Okay, one of the most important things when making the bath bomb is to make sure the humidity in your work area is as close to 40% or below as possible. Any higher is going to increase the moisture in the bath bombs themselves. It can change how well they hold together and can absolutely change the drying time. So if it is a little over 40%, it's okay. Just expect them to take a little bit longer to dry.
All right, everyone, what do you think? I think they're pretty easy. Let's thank Melissa for joining us. Give her a thumbs up, everybody. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit that little notification bell, and you'll know the next time. Yeah, hit that little bell. You'll know the next time that I have a great, easy video for you.